I met Ronnie about 10 or 15 years ago, and he was working on this as a play. And I encouraged him to write the play, and I tried to find a venue for it, and he had a lot of jokes in it. And I said, Ronnie, there's got to be some pain in this. You've got to talk about the pain of this. And so I think it was very cathartic for him. I'm sorry that he's not here tonight for you guys all to meet him and for him to see how well received the piece is. You know, when you're as honest and as forthright as he is, it's tough.
Well, the festivals actually have, like, we have 2 or 3 documentaries, 3 or 4 documentaries actually, with strong personalities, you know, that we focus on. And this is one of those where you go, your relationship with him in making this, like, you know, there are quite a few moments where he gets very, very emotional, and he is, you know, and so I'd love for you to talk about how you map those out with him. And, you know, did you go into those moments knowing that this is going to be a very emotional place that you were going to talk about that day or in that moment, or did they kind of surprise you as they happened?
I knew about the piece, and I knew the highs and lows of it. I actually thought he should tell a little less, but he wanted to tell it. He wanted to get it all out, and as he said, he felt so much better having told it. And then Abdul helped me to kind of craft it. We couldn't decide if it should be linear or if we should tell you in advance that there's a happy ending, it's going to be okay. And I still see some things that could come out of it, but we started out thinking we were going to shoot it in 5 days, which turned into 12 days and 2.5 years.
Well, you know, but also, you know, documentary filmmakers often talk about, and especially in the editing process, is sometimes you find your movie in the editing room. Now, yes, you're telling a life here, you're telling the course of a life, but were there moments as you were like, you know, putting this film together where you said, oh, wait a minute, this is actually kind of the arc that we're really working with?
Well, this one was different because it was a project that was actually happening before I was involved with a different editor, and suddenly it was given to me, and I started from scratch. I viewed the first Crazy rough cut, it was crazy, and decided, you know what, as a viewer, it's interesting. Coming from New York myself and looking at this footage and seeing the pain that this guy is going through and being familiar with the arts, I was like, okay, let me just tell this as a viewer before I really get into it as a filmmaker. But as I started editing it, then I was suggesting, hey, maybe we should go back to Susan Taylor and interview her. Let's go back to Anthony Barboza and all the people, like all that stuff came after.
That was his idea, because he said, Ronnie kept saying, I was fabulous, but where are the witnesses?
Yeah, we need to solidify his world. So.
And also the dramatizations.
That was a good idea, honey.
And let's talk about the dramatizations and how you decided to put those in and work those within the fabric of the story.
Well, that was my idea. I wanted to use some real actors to help him and to support him. And I didn't want you to be with, it was okay for Ronnie to narrate it, but I felt like you need to move off of him. It's a moving picture. And we actually had we had somebody play the brother, and somebody played the mother, and Ronnie objected to that. He wanted the photographs of the real people. And so, you know, that was a creative decision. And I fought for Aunt Glo. He wanted Aunt Glo out of there, and I was like, no, Aunt Glo's working. And he actually cast the kid, and then didn't like the kid after he saw him later. So I think it was a labor of love. His play had languished. It was, you know, kind of in the corner under a pile of dust. And he was sad that the play didn't do well. And I was in film school with Richard Lawson out in LA, and I was like, oh, honey, it's not a play, it's a movie. And little did I know what I was getting myself into. But I'm glad I did. And I think that after hearing you guys' laughter and your reactions, we'll probably work on it and craft it a little more. We just found out we got into Martha's Vineyard Film Festival.
Yay!
So I'm particularly proud of it, and I want to thank everybody that came out to support us tonight.
Yes.
right involved. So, I mean, if you have some questions, I mean, I can throw in some more questions, but I'd love for you guys to be able to ask some questions as well. Yes?
Where's the film playing next?
Will it be Martha's Vineyard, or will it play somewhere?
This is the North American premiere. The African American Women of Cinema had selected it, but I wasn't going to be in the country that day, and so I withdrew it from them, and I was thrilled to find out it was closing night film. At first I said to Abdul, I said, I don't think that's good. Sunday night people are going to be going home. He goes, no, that's good.
Those are he's talking about.
And so we got into something in Amsterdam. We got into Martha's Vineyard. I'm waiting to hear from Outfest in LA. But you know, this is a tough story because Ronnie doesn't really say exactly where he's at sexually. He's conflicted. And some of the biggest loves of his life have been women. But I think that's one of the most interesting things about it is that it's not black or white. It's gray.
Yeah.
It's gray.
Yeah.
Not so much a question as an observation and maybe a testament to the directing and editing. In the beginning, maybe the first 15, 20 minutes, he wasn't very likable to me. He was kind of glib, kind of smart-assy.
Yeah.
Probably a mirror holding up to me. But then I began to empathize and wonder and want to know. Also, with regards to his sexuality, throughout I was, is he gay or is he not gay? Is he whatever? And I have college-age children who are, I'm very liberal, very open-minded, still confused about the gender fluidity situation, and they're introducing me to friends that have all kinds of different things. And so it made me think, it made some of that make sense to me, that not everybody knows it's not black and white.
Well, the thing about being fluid, that's a new word.
Yes.
Maybe Ronnie was an early revolutionary in that. Maybe he was fluid before the term fluid came out.
Yeah.
And what difference does it make? Love is love. I think Ronnie is still wanting love. And so his cover is to be glib, and his cover is to make you laugh. And he knows it's a tragedy, but he doesn't want you guys to feel too bad. So he throws in all those punchlines.
But let's talk about that as a filmmaker, because you're trying to get to the truth of Ronnie.
You said you needed him to show pain.
And so,
And that's
and
when
so
you
as a
started to-
filmmaker, as you continue to have him in front of the camera, you continue to work with him with the story, were there moments where you said, I need to push him a little bit more? Were there moments where I need to pull back? What was that like for you directing him?
I had a blast. This is my first feature-length thing, and I had done a couple of shorts. And initially, I just wanted to get it all in and get it all on tape and get him to get through, because a lot of it was monologues. And then I started working on how's the structure of this. There's a thing in all movies where it starts out with the orphan. You know about this?
Yeah.
And then it goes to the wanderer. And so I think we sort of talked about that. And then he becomes a warrior, finally, when he starts to get sober and he starts to find his way into the wig business. He starts to fight for his own life, and then he falls back again and becomes the martyr. So we tried to tell the whole story. Maybe we told too much, I'm not sure. But I think as I've shown it around to a few friends, everybody knows a Ronnie. Everybody had a Ronnie in their apartment complex or on the playground, and they were friends with Ronnie. Ronnie still has, when we walk down 61st Street in West End, people are like, hey Ronnie, people still know Ronnie. And he's still sharp as a tack and gorgeous. He actually isn't here because he went to the Kentucky Derby.
Of course.
God bless him. But, I think one of the bravest things was that he could just be so honest. I know that he wasn't that likable at points, but he was so honest. And you said, Cece actually saw an early cut, and she said, well, this is going to be good because he's so honest. You remember saying that?
I do, and I just have to say that he actually rose to his own occasion. and maybe cleanse himself
Yes.
Right.
Did
with
in this
your
film.
allowing him
Yeah.
to literally say whatever and leave so much of it not on the cutting room floor, because there are parts of this I think people might be at first offended because they can only see the outward life of it. They might just say, oh, they're talking about dicks and crotches. Oh, there's that. But in the context of which it's in, it actually changes very, very quickly to quite a poignant story. I mean, Angela, first full-length film out the gate, sweetie,
It's fantastic.
you did
Fantastic.
great.
A lot of help. A lot of support. Thank you, Cece.
Yeah, good question right here.
Well, to piggyback off of what you were saying, I wouldn't have known it was your first film, first of all.
No, you wouldn't have.
And like the pace of the film, the way that you decided to not show in the beginning that he was fabulous in the fashion world. I grew up in the fashion world. I knew a lot of the people that were in this film, and I'm sure I've worked with Ronnie as well. And because it's kind of personal for me in a different way, because I'm like, you never know what another person is going through.
Yes.
When you're on your sets and you're doing all of this glamour and the fashion and the makeup and the styling and all of this and everything, you know, everybody's fabulous and everything's fabulous.
Yep.
And there's these people that are wounded. We're all wounded, and we're all having all of these issues that are going on in our life. So I love the fact that you left that. Although when Susan came up early in the, you know, like a third in, I was like, well, what's Susan Taylor doing? You know, doing in this, and I was trying to put it together, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, but I'm so glad that you didn't start. That was in the middle. His fabulousness came in the middle instead of the beginning, because he allowed us, and the way you did it, to get to know him. And we needed to get to know him as a human being. We need to get to know him as a person, and not this fabulous guy who worked for Essence and made all of these wonderful things happen and met Diana Ross and all these things. That's great, you know, but I'm just saying we needed to be pulled in close to him, just human to human, and he made it work. You know, because, in my opinion, of his honesty, because he was so just open with it, and just so, and you could feel the pain, and because of his sense of humor, that just when you're getting ready to cry with him, you're laughing with him, you know. So I thought it was great. I really did. So
He had worked with Susan Batson on some of the elements of his emotional life and his preparation. And I kept saying to him, Ronnie, you don't have to cry. You have to make me cry. You don't have to cry. He wanted to get the tears. Sweetheart, just tell the story. You don't have to cry. Let us cry for you. And so I think he really succeeded in that.
So those bursts that he fought were the natural bursts.
Yeah, he was going through therapy for sure.
I think when he was on the train tracks, that was, for me, that was like one of the best scenes. Because he went right from that into the stuff about the pudding, and we, at one point, we had cut that, but I said, that's it. Go right from that pain into the flip side of, you know, now I'm being molested by Uncle Ben. I love that about him.
All right, we have time.
Caldwell, you are a good friend of Ronnie's. What do you think he's going to say?
I'm still processing it because we are such good friends and we talk about all of this so much, and now to see it full throttle, I'm taking notes and I'm going to bring them all back to him. But I think he'll be very pleased with the cathartic part of it, because he really does want this to be a catalyst to help heal people. And I had never seen him cry, so for me, I'm just digesting all of this. So give me a minute.
Not yet.
There's a spy in the house, but it's okay. Is there anything else?
No, I think it's a great place to end it on. I would just say, that it was such an appropriate film to close the festival because he really, as a personality, epitomizes New York City.
He does.
So congratulations.